Hello everyone, this is Logan. So I recently saw the new Super Mario Bros. Movie in theaters, and I figured I realistically had one of two options. I could spend the majority of the next stream kind of going over my thoughts and interrupting all of the things that I have planned, or I could just do it in a video like this. I like to believe by doing this, I have picked the smartest option. So let's just start off, get everything out of the way, and answer the most important question I think people are going to have. Is this movie worth watching? And I come at it from one of two, groups. You have the hardcore fans, people who have, maybe they grew up with a Nintendo, a Super Nintendo, N64, Game Boy, whatever. They've played all the Mario games, maybe you even know how to do like the Minus World glitch or the Infinite Lives trick in Mario 1, or you know how to air dive in Mario 3 or whatever. There's also the casuals, people who, like everybody, I have to imagine, knows who Mario is. In the grand scheme of things, he is up there with Mickey Mouse or Santa Claus as just a universally well-known, well-loved figure. You can have never picked up a game controller in your life and still know who Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, and Bowser are. So, the other group of people is people who who know who Mario is. Maybe you've played a couple Mario games, like, maybe you played like Odyssey or Galaxy, or maybe even like, the original Nintendo games. But, you're not like a hardcore fan. It's not like one of your favorite things, right? I say to the hardcore fans, there's enough fan service to where you will be satisfied. And I think that you will understand that this was not entirely a money-grubbing effort. Honest to God effort, was put into this movie to appeal to fans of the Mario series. There are a ton of Easter eggs. You hear about this a lot on the internet. I'll give a couple of examples. And both of these examples are, by the way, in the first 5 minutes of the film. So, in the very beginning, there's an ad, there's like a pretend ad for the Mario Brothers plumbing industry. And they play the Super Mario Brothers Super Show rap. With the Mario Plumbers, the plumbing's a game. You know that one, right? Which I thought was a pretty cool thing, You don't usually see Nintendo directly referencing that era, pre-Charles Martinet era of Mario in pop culture. I think because generally it's sort of laughed off in this sort of internet sphere. But it's laughed at because it's enduring. People laugh at the Super Mario Bros. Super Show not because they think it's bad, even though it probably is, but they laugh at it because they know it's bad, but they still have nostalgia for it. And I think whoever is putting together the Mario Brothers movie, whoever called the shot to do that specific thing, understands that. There's even like a part where like somebody calls Mario and Mario's ringtone on his cell phone is the intro tune to the Nintendo GameCube. So it's just like things like that. And there's a ton of other like, blink and you miss it gags, probably most of which I didn't even notice the first time watching. But all in all, like the fan service is there, and you can tell that it's not just there to, check a box. Like, fan service. If we appeal to the fans, we make X amount of profit off of this. It's done with love. Whoever is behind the script writing process or the direction process is doing this project out of love for the Mario Brothers video games. Now for the casuals. So this gets into the movie as a whole. Forget Mario Brothers are a thing. Forget, forget who Mario is. Forget who Luigi is. Forget who Peach is. Is this a good movie? It's not bad. It's not bad. Do not expect the typical level of Illumination. Do not expect Despicable Me. Do not expect Trolls World Tour. This isn't that bad. But it's not the best thing either. I would say it does exactly what it needs to do. So, I've mentioned this a couple of times on stream, but for me, I always said that I was extremely skeptical. I didn't want to immediately write it off as, oh, there is no way this is going to be good. I don't know, maybe when the trailer first came out, I might have said something like that. Because, I mean, it is Illumination. Realistically, it wasn't going to be good. But as more trailers came out and as more negative backlash came along, I was like, this could work. Assuming they don't monumentally screw it up. And they didn't. For their credit. They did not monumentally screw this movie up. But it's not... You can't fully shake the stink of Illumination. Old habits die hard, right? So I always said, I'm skeptical of this. I am going to wait until some people in my community watch the movie and come back with either overtly positive or overtly negative, opinions. And the overwhelming consensus of the movie, for what it's worth, is very positive. And I don't think that's unsounded. So, let's go over the positives. So, the voice acting. That's a thing that's... I think the voice actors for this movie have overshadowed the movie itself. And that is for a good reason. Chris Pratt, Daniel Day-Lewis, Anya Taylor-Joy, Jack Black, Seth Rogen. These are A-list actors, right? And it's kind of a trope to do that, especially in these kinds of, kids' movies, right? It's Despicable Me starring Steve Carell because he's an A-list actor. Moana starring Dwayne The Rock Johnson. It's kind of like a thing to and even have a little bit of self-insert there too, But I think this is done about as tastefully as it realistically was going to be. I think you have so Chris Pratt is not Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt is Mario. Daniel Day-Lewis is not Daniel Day-Lewis. He is Luigi. Anya Taylor-Joy is Princess Peach. Seth Rogen is very, very much Seth Rogen. But with that as an exception, they are not just blank self-inserts. There is a reason that they are playing the characters. The characters come first. It's not about the celebrity... it's not about the celebrity personalities entirely. And I will already say for the record that there are people who disagree. Specifically with Bowser. However, they disagree with it and then spin it as a positive. Jack Black is not Jack Black. Jack Black is Bowser. I think a lot of people are just like, oh, well, he listened to metal music, therefore he's Tenacious D. He's Jack Black. He's not Jack Black. He's Bowser. He has, he does the Bowser voice, and, honestly, that's something I would have never expected he would be able to pull off successfully. But to his credit, he really did it. Which, to his credit, proves that Jack Black is a much more versatile actor than I ever gave him credit for. And I was wrong to misjudge him. I think that he plays Bowser. I think that the mannerisms are the mannerisms of what Bowser would do in a situation in the Mario games. Donkey Kong is Seth Rogen. Donkey Kong is, he does the Seth Rogen laugh. He's obviously he's not a stoner. They aren't going to do that in a kid's movie. Although there is a number of just like weirdly like strangely cursed decisions that they did make in the movie, but I'll get to that later. But he is a Seth Rogen self-insert. He sounds like Seth Rogen. He doesn't even like try to do like a ooh, like Donkey Kong sound. He speaks normally like Seth Rogen would. Chris Pratt kind of does that too, but he's not trying to be Chris Pratt, if that makes sense. He is trying to be Mario, just a different kind of Mario. And Luigi, I think, is Luigi just through and through. Luigi has the personality. Luigi's a scaredy cat, right? We all know the Luigi's Mansion games, and even in the non-Luigi's Mansion games, he kind of has that personality. That's the personality they basically gave him in this movie. A lot of people will say that Daniel Day-Lewis was not used nearly enough in the movies. I agree with that, but I also don't think that he was as good of a character as some people want him to be. He was adequate. And adequate really is the thing that describes this movie in a nutshell. Everything down from the characters to the writing, it serves its purpose, and it doesn't do so in an overtly insulting way. There are some pretty like funny moments. I think this isn't a spoiler, because it's not really integral to the plot or anything, but it is something that happens in the movie, I guess. Luma. Yeah, Luma from the Mario Galaxy games. He's in this movie. Luma is, he's actually... So, Luma in Mario Galaxy. He's, Mario's right-hand man. He does, like, the launch pad and helps Mario go through the Mario Galaxy games, right? Luma's cursed in this movie. Not only is he a bad guy, he's, like, weirdly really sadistic. And I don't know why they did that, but I'm glad they did. It's genuinely... The most funny parts of the movie are the parts with Luma just being, like, really weirdly out-of-place sadistic. Like, it's not like, okay, kids' movies have, like, really messed up elements a lot of times, right? I mean, like, Watership Down, Secret of NIMH, especially, like, in the 80s, right? It was more common back then before, everybody was... But the moments where, like, there was, like, a line where, like, Luma was like, "Your only hope is the sweet release of death." I'm like, what the hell? Where did that come out? That came out of nowhere. But, like, it's so random and out of place that it's just like, yeah, that's funny. I applaud them. That was a risk. It could have backfired, but it didn't, and I'm glad they made that risk. But beyond that, though, like, the movie, the plot satisfies. I think it might have been Vinny from Vinesauce. He basically said if the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Movie, if the biggest criticism of that is that it didn't follow closely enough to the source material, you could argue that 2023 Super Mario Bros. Follows extremely close to the source material, maybe even a tad too much. I'm not going to make that argument, but people have. But it's definitely very close to the source material. Like I said, not even like counting all of the Easter eggs. It gets the lore of the series pretty much spot on. Mario is in Brooklyn. He takes a teleportation pipe to the Mushroom Kingdom, which actually slightly parallels the 1993 Mario movie. Except, instead of going to the Mushroom Kingdom, he goes to what is essentially sort of like a weird dinosaur world, but, whatever. It like, in the beginning, it sort of does parallel 1993 Mario, and I don't know if that's necessarily by design, but it happened to be that way. Also, another weird thing is Mario has parents. Mario and Luigi, they have parents. Which I don't know if this is the thing they were necessarily trying to parallel, but if you look at the Mario comics, those are the only references to Mario ever having a family. Mario and Luigi ever having a family. So I don't know if they specifically were inspired by those comics, but if so, that would be a really, really deep cut, and massive applause to that. But overall, I would say, if I were to give it a scale from 1 to 10 without giving any spoilers, I would say it is a 7 out of 10. It's above average. 5 is average. If it was 5, it would be like, okay, this movie existed. I have really nothing to say other than I sat in the theater. I was bored, but I didn't have anything overtly negative to criticize the movie about. This movie does things right. It's not Citizen Kane. It wasn't going to be. It's just a dumb little kid's movie. And if you want something dumb to turn your mind off to, Super Mario Bros. Movie, it's not going to disappoint you. You're going to come out of that theater and you're going to feel satisfied by the movie. I did. I came out, I was like, I just had a dumb little grin on my face. I just thought it was a fun little movie. Not Shakespeare. Not even, in the upper echelon of children family movies. But it was fun. And I'm glad they did it the way that they did. There are some things that I would improve upon. Another thing I would even talk about is another Illuminationism is the licensed music. They kind of overdo that. It's not the most offensive thing in the world, but, there's a lot... It's a trope in movies, right? It's a trope in movies to hear Thunderstruck, Mr. Blue Sky, that dan song that I don't know what it's called, but I hear it in, so many action movie trailers. You know what I mean? It's a done-to-death trope. It should die. I really wish that it would die. It's not the most offensive thing in this movie. I've seen movies do it far more offensively and far worse. But it does kind of remind you that this is an Illumination movie. Like I said, old habits die hard. You can't fully escape the Illumination-ness of this Illumination movie. But I also think there was enough direct input from Nintendo, and from what I actually hear, direct input from Shigeru Miyamoto himself, to save this movie from being a complete bomb. So that's my general opinions. What do you guys think of the movie? Have you seen it? Have you seen the trailers? What are your opinions on what you do know about the movie? Let me know in the comments. As always, good night, and thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Bye, everyone.